Hey everyone, welcome back. We are doing our October 2025 production update. This one's gonna be a bear. Let's start off by talking about the removal of the US de minimis. If you guys don't know, the US de minimis is basically duty and tax exemption, where if a package going to the US is under 800 US dollars, it can clear duties and taxes free. And this was like a exemption that has been around for a long time, which allowed, companies outside of the U.S. to ship stuff into the U.S. pretty easily, namely China. Because of the whole trade war thing, Donald Trump has basically eliminated that de minimis rule. Initially, it was just for Chinese goods, and then it kind of eventually took over for all the countries. For us specifically, because we produce in Canada, we have certified our products under the USMCA or CUSMA trade agreement, which allows those products to enter into US trade duty-free. And this is a process we've been using for many years. We have removed certain products, such as like the router and the t-shirts, because they don't comply with the trade agreement. For the customer, any of the US customers, otherwise the whole process should be the same, and we are not seeing customers needing to pay duties and taxes on shipments. Because this change has kind of like thrown a wrench into the whole operations of the shipping system, we have found, or at least in the last month, some of our orders being shipped back due to errors with handling, and we've been having to repack and reship a lot of the orders. They're not our fault, like in terms of documentation. There's certain scenarios where issues can happen. So for example, if the customs documentation is missing for a package in a shipment, then that whole shipment might, like when I say whole shipment, like a truckload, if one of those items doesn't have clearance, then it might prevent the whole truck from being shipped across the US. This is something that happened also way back when Donald Trump imposed the tariffs. And so we're kind of like familiar with how this all happens. We've seen much less of these issues happen over the last couple of weeks, like they've been declining. However, we are letting people know that with this current uncertain times, there could be some delays in packages arriving to people's doors. At this moment, we are doing DDP, delivery duty paid, which means that all of the duties and taxes and the brokerage is being handled by us, and you don't have to pay anything extra after you place your order. If that is to change, we will put a note on the cart page, so people will be able to know. Basically, if for some reason they stop doing the USMCA certification, for example, and people have to pay a lot in taxes, then we will have to adjust things. But at least at this point, things seem to be okay. Because we're getting ready for the launch of the 4x8, and also like we're continuing to grow our production, we have also removed the floor of the downstairs production space. We've started pulling out that floor so that we can put full racks, allowing us to store a lot more inventory in our space. We do store a lot of inventory in an external warehouse. However, obviously, like if we want to reduce the amount of transit time back and forth between warehouses, the more space we have in our production facility here, the better it will be. So we'll talk about this a little more on the altmill production side. Right now, the altmill 2x4 and 4x4, we've just been shipping a lot of them. Batch 5 has pretty much been shipped out completely, and we're waiting on batch 6 parts to arrive. Over the last couple of weeks, we've averaged probably about 1 to 2 weeks of time for delivery. We are letting people know that that lead time can be around 5 to 7 weeks still. One, because of the floor tear out, as I was talking about, may cause some delays or slowdown in our production. We are waiting on more parts to arrive. Probably like we should get all of batch 6 by the end of October. The actual time for things to ship should be relatively short, but we're being somewhat conservative just in case. Another thing for us to talk about today is the changes that we're making for the LongMill pricing. As you guys may know, we launched the first LongMill on Kickstarter in 2019. And over the last couple of years, we've made a lot of changes to the LongMill, including changing from 3D printed components to injection molded and metal components. We've made our own custom extrusions. We've developed our own T12 power transmission system, so like lead screws and nuts, anti-backlash nuts. We've also introduced G-Sender, as well as a very advanced and intuitive CNC software, integrated notable accessories like the Vortex rotary axis and the Auto Zero touch plate. We also have Gerbil HAL and the Super Long board, bringing more advanced electronics to the LongMill. Yeah, we started off with like the 12x12, the 12x30, and the 30x30 made of angle aluminum, and now we have much more refined machines. Back then, the hobby CNC world was pretty new. And now we have a lot of different machines in the landscape. First is the prosumer hobby machines. That's kind of in the $3,000 to $7,000 range. And then we have kind of like our entry-level CNC machines, which are in the under $2,000-ish range. Right now, the LongMill kind of stands as a middle ground machine where it's a little bit more on the more expensive side of the entry-level range, but not quite at the price point and performance of a higher end or prosumer type machine like the altmill, for example. We've also seen a lot of Chinese brands come into the hobby CNC market, like Fox Alien and SainSmart, and now users can get a CNC machine for a couple $100s, which is incredible. From our perspective, the target audience for the LongMill has kind of changed too. You know, we have people who buy an altmill because they want to learn, and the machine is affordable enough that they can take the risk, but it's capable enough that they can make money from it and do some type of production. The LongMill, on the other hand, is very squarely put as like an entry-level hobby machine. People don't quite expect to get an ROI on it like the same way they would on an altmill. And we've also seen like machine prices to come down generally on the very entry-level side of things. At least from our perspective, we kind of have a changing market, and we just have to make sure the LongMill fits into the right market. We've decided to lower the price of the LongMill. Yay! So there's two reasons for us to lower the price. One is so that we compete more closely with Chinese hobby CNC machines. The second is because the price gap, we've known that the price gap between the altmill and LongMill is relatively small, to the point where if you're going to get into the hobby CNC world, you might as well pay extra for all the extra bells and whistles and rigidity of the altmill. We're finding that it's hard for us to separate those audiences, essentially. I also feel like we've gotten quite good at building the machines more efficiently, and the cost of it is been pretty stable in the long run, and so we can still be profitable and support the LongMill line even with a price change. And lastly, and the thing that probably will interest a lot of people, is the future plan of the LongMill line. We want to continue to support the hobby market and also provide affordable and effective CNC machines for people who are just getting started on CNCing. The LongMill was like a great example of this, and now we've developed much more advanced technology. We have access to better materials, and we have better manufacturing techniques and all that sort of stuff that we've developed experience over time. Not only are we reducing the price for the current machines, we are also using that as a time to help liquidate some of the old inventory, so we can make room for updating, making a new updated version of the LongMill. We believe it'll be a more powerful and reliable machine. However, at this point, the current LongMill, especially at the price reduction, is still like an incredible option and a machine, and people are gonna love it, and people still love their LongMills. And so, yeah, we're kind of opening up the opportunity for people to get in on the LongMill ecosystem at a slightly lower price, and also open up a channel for us to start saving up money for the production of a new version. Right now, the plan is to drop the price of the LongMill by 300 Canadian dollars or 220 US dollars until supplies last, and that price drop will happen October 13th. The altmill 4x8 development. So we are excited to let people know that altmill 4x8 pre-orders will be opening up October 29th. I believe we have a price point of around $7,500 US. And we will also have the ATC available. It won't be launched at the same time. Basically, we're going to launch the 4x8 first. People can buy the 4x8, and the ATC will come as a separate launch, and people can buy it separately, and then you just kind of like exactly how the current alt mills are. You can pick and choose which spindles you want to use. So that will come out probably a few weeks later. Price point of the ATC is going to be roughly in the $2,500 to $3,000 mark. If you're planning to budget for that, keep that pricing in mind. It's a lot of work in the development side. We have pretty much wrapped up the design work for the version 2 prototype, and we've gotten parts in, so we have done the assembly for that machine. Marketing is doing videos and testing and all that sort of stuff with that. We're also doing a lot of long-term testing for the rack and pinion system. We're improving the assembly process and the structural rigidity of the base and the table. We should be reaching out to beta testers for their to get them set up for beta testing pretty shortly as well. We will have full details pretty shortly. I have a blog post called Everything You Should Know About the altmill 4x8, which will basically cover everything you want to know, so make sure to stay tuned. Because we're getting into the altmill stuff, people want bigger bits. It's a bigger machine, bigger spindle, now bigger bits. And so now we have a whole ton of end mills available for sale on our store. You may have gotten an email from Nathan describing everything you need to know about that. There's a link to all the bits that you can get new now. They come with like 3/8 inch shanks, and we have like DLC diamond-like coatings and all of the different shapes, round over bits, so on and so forth. So we've pretty much expanded our whole bit line, and we've also revamped and updated the tool information so it's easier to integrate that with your CAM software. The gControl panel computer, we are out of stock on that right now. We're expecting new stock to arrive at the start of November. The sales for the gControl panel computer have been a lot higher than we were expecting, which is great, but we have more on order, and if you order one now, I guess you'll have to wait a couple weeks. Another important update for the gControl panel computer. So the old computer, or I guess the computers that just finished shipping, those use the N100 Intel chip. The new version will have a slightly updated N150 processor. Because Intel is currently like sunsetting the N100 chips and also updating, ramping up production for the N150 chips, the pricing for the N100s have gone up, and the N150s have kind of stayed the same, which means that the cost for us to make a computer with the N100 chip ends up being very marginally, very similar to the cost to just use the N150 chip. So we have just gone ahead and changed to using the N150 chip. There is a small price difference as well, so there will be a small price bump on the gControl panel computer. If people have ordered it around this time and onwards, because we have some overlap in the computers, some people may get the updated processor at the old price. But once we have the official launch information and blog posts go out, the pricing will be updated, and the computers will all be coming with the N150 chip. In practice, from our testing and understanding, the performance difference isn't huge. So in practice, people won't probably see a big difference in how they work, but the N150 chip is slightly faster and also kind of more future-proof. So that's what's going on with the gControl stuff. Automatic tool changer development has also been going at a breakneck speed. One thing that's really interesting is the update to gSender that will allow users to see different colors for different tools that they're using. So if you guys don't know, the ATC is going to be a fully integrated spindle with using ISO 20 type tool holders. It's not the same as something like a rapid change, because a rapid change will basically rotate the spindle and flick off the collet nut. In this case, this is a more of a standard industrial type spindle with tapered tool holders. One of the reasons we decided to go down that route is because they're just more reliable. A lot of the ATCs are very primitive and they're not very plug and play. So we have to do a lot of work in adapting gSenders, like integrating gSender software so that people can register what their tools are and kind of like be able to pick and choose what tools are digitally. They also need to be able to visualize what they're seeing on the software. There also needs to be a lot of safety features, like making sure the tool is in the spindle when it rotates, making sure that there's enough air pressure to keep the tool in place, overheating, and a whole ton of other sensors and features to make sure that the use of that spindle is safe. Like basically all that development in Scratch. So we're pretty excited to have this out into the world because there are a couple spindles that do the same thing, but they're just really, really expensive, like 2, 3, even 4 times more expensive than the one that we're working on right now. Certified VFDs, those are, by the time this video goes out, they will be available on our store to Canadian customers. Initially, we were using the H100 VFD. We found out that we needed to certify the ones that we ship to Canada, and so we stopped selling those ones to Canadian customers. Then we developed our own VFD to comply with Canadian standards and then certify them. We shipped new certified VFDs to existing Canadian customers that got the original uncertified H100 VFDs. We still have a lot of H100s left, so we are selling them to the US market because the US market apparently doesn't care, and it's not a requirement for those components to be certified to be able to be sold in the US. Because the design of the new VFD is safer and arguably superior and looks cooler than the H100, we will eventually just phase out the old VFDs and then start selling the new ones, regardless of whether you're in Canada or the US. Because there is a cost associated with the certification, like even though like for part they're exactly the same, the cost for someone to put a sticker on that it is certified does cost some money, like $20 or something, $20, $30. We'll probably just have it as an option if you want it or not, if you're an American customer. And obviously Canadian customers will get a certified VFD whether they like it or not. So based on our timeline, we will have those pre-orders open this month, and they're expected to start shipping in January 2026 because there is a long production process. Kind of lastly, we have the new dust shoe design. I don't think we've really talked about this that much in the past. All of the dust shoes that we sell, the LongMill and the altmill, those are all 3D printed. And 3D printing is great because you can scale up the production, make changes to the design right away, and you can do all these complex geometries relatively easily compared to other manufacturing processes. The problem is that the dust shoes are not as strong as like a solid injection piece of plastic. Initially, we didn't know how many dust shoes we were going to make, and the cost of the tooling is really expensive, so we just kept 3D printing them. However, we're at this point now where the math works out where injection molding them makes sense. And it's also beneficial for us to use a stronger material because I would say a lot of people do break their dust shoes. They're at the front of the action, as I would say. You know, people crash them into things and they get worn out and all that sort of stuff. The new dust shoe is going to be injection molded polycarbonate. Polycarbonate is a relatively strong material. They make bulletproof windows and stuff with it. That's one great benefit. The second is that it will have a better latching system, so it's easier to take on and off, and it'll also have a magnetic bristle attaching system, so then taking that off is easier. So easier tool changes, a much more polished design. And you can see the dust going through the dust shoe, and you can also see the bit more easily as it's cutting. So you can kind of monitor what's going on with your CNC machine a lot better too. The initial plan is to ship those with the spindle kits, and we will also have them available open for sale soon as well. I do not have the exact dates yet, but if you read the blog, we will have the updated dates and pricing on the blog. So if you are curious about any of this information or just want to read more of my rambling, make sure to go on our website and check out the blog. We have a lot of articles and blog posts and YouTube videos and other product launch related content coming out in October. What products we have? We got the ATC, we got the auto spin router, we got the new dust shoe, we got the certified VFDs, we got the altmill 4x8, we got the pricing change for the LongMill, we got the gControl panel computer. chip update pricing change. Yeah, this month is busy. Oh, and the bits. Yeah, we got new bit announcements coming out too, and videos and content and more information about all that sort of stuff too. So yeah, it's crazy, but such is life. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we will see you in October. Oh, and one last thing, I will be on vacation from October 20th to November 20th, so I may not be on camera next month. We will see, but just a heads up. We'll see. I'm sure you guys will miss me. Okay, bye.